Hello everyone, hope you're doing all right. So today we had two Zoom calls, one in London, one in New York. The London one was a bit longer, but it's full of value in my opinion, and you can see my exact thought process on everything, and we even took some live trades, etc. Personally, I didn't execute anything on live or on demo. I just tape read and put the short and long position tool on, and that's it. I'll quickly go over it again. I won't go in full detail to the things that I've already mentioned in London or New York Zoom. So let's just quickly go over it right now. All right. The bonds, again, we are likely going to close right here, then maybe a previous day high sweep, and then continuation on lower into this fair value gap. Now, this is a little bit decoupled with the dollar, etc. So that's something to take into account. I just like to sort of ignore the bonds and just go to the dollar instead. So if we did take a look at the dollar, now tomorrow, or sorry, not tomorrow, yesterday morning, not yesterday, today, this morning, I mentioned that we closed above this mean threshold. Now, if you take a look at the London one, it's called London one, the video, I mentioned I'm not fully convinced on dollar going higher right here. Even though we closed on above the mean threshold, I was not fully convinced. Now, if price wanted to go higher, I mentioned it should respect this 4-hour fair value gap, which it didn't do. It displaced lower, disrespecting this fair value gap. So as soon as I saw a disrespect of the fair value gap, I thought, all right, dollar wants to go lower. So then we have this 4-hour fair value gap as well, this SIBI, which we just sweep into, and now we could see a continuation lower until possibly these equal lows. But at least I would say this fair value gap right here. So these are two targets, first target, second target, if it does want to continue lower. All right, that's basically it for the dollar. Then on ES, I mentioned this fair value gap as well, and if we closed above it, which we did, and had a fair value gap right here, I would love to see ideally a sweep into this 4-hour fair value gap and then a continuation higher. Now, of course, this idea is great, but we never got a 5-minute confirmation or anything. It just dropped, and that's about it. And I also said in the Discord, I said, if you're seeing this and you're expecting longs, then just close your chart and come back another day. Because after I saw this, I was like, all right, it's not going to give a long, most likely, so I'm not too bothered watching it. We did catch this trade in a London session, which was quite nice. It was this 4-hour fair value gap, 5-minute entry model. So if you're curious about that, then go check it out. Nasdaq, there was nothing really. There was this same ID as on ES, but again, a straight drop, and that's about it. A straight drop, that's it. Then the Dow, same thing. It just swept this high right here. It's just a little bit consolidating. It's not too clear what it wants to do right here. We took a break even right here, and you can take a look in London or New York, and I'll explain it fully. So yeah, the Dow right here isn't that clean in my opinion. It's consolidating, and I don't like it personally. As well as ES and Nasdaq are moving lower, whilst dollar is moving lower as well. So it's not something I like. DAX is actually the same scenario, but it's right now in this 4-hour fair value gap. So if it does give a 5-minute entry model right here, that would be nice. We do have some fair value gaps right here. This breaker, that's a big if, because if we do consolidate all the way until London, and we do consolidate something like this, I would love to see in London a retracement lower and something like this, if it does happen. But that's, again, that's we still have a long time to go until London, so not too sure about that. For the rest, there's nothing much on DAX. Nothing much today on DAX. Then Euro GBP, we talked about it. We only use this for our high time frame analysis. Euro USD, I also called in the Discord as well, and in the Zoom New York session. We basically called the whole day right here. We were expecting higher prices off of this daily order block. We jumped into the 4 hour as well right here. We were expecting higher prices off of this 4 hour fair value gap as well, which we are pushing higher right now. So we had initially we had a 15-minute setup right here, coming off a daily order block in London, and then we had our setup right here on the 5-minute order block right here, and expecting higher prices. We had this ST into this 4 hour fair value gap. Now the important part is I did not go into price, or I did not look at the price action, and you'll see me say this in New York session as well. I did not go into price action and try to catch a 5-minute move here. No, I waited patiently for a 4 hour fair value gap, and then once we traded into the 4 hour fair value gap, then I dropped into the 5-minute looking for an entry pattern. Now the entry pattern right here is this 5-minute ST, this respect of the ST. We have a new displacement away, so we have a new fair value gap. And as soon as I saw the fair value gap, then I would have entered right here on the order block and covering the breaker, covering this swing low because it's a little bit lower as the breaker, and then let it ride. We didn't displace in the beginning, we just consolidated sort of. Now it's kind of displacing. So if it does want to continue higher, either off of this 15-minute fair value gap or this 5-minute fair value gap, basically the same thing. So again, very important to note, when we got into New York, and this is why I recommend watching them both, because you'll see my exact thought process. When we came into New York, I didn't go into execution on the 5-minute straight away. No, the higher time frame analyst phase. So we have the 1 psychology, 2nd higher time frame, and 3rd execution. 3rd, not 2nd, 3rd execution. Then in New York, I start with psych, or in London, I start with psych, high time frame execution. And then if New York happens, we have to start all over again. So again, we start with psychology, high time frame execution. And I'm not looking at the 15-minute or 5M when New York starts and thinking, all right, 15-minute will most likely retrace until here, etc. No, I'm just waiting patiently on the higher time frame, and then we play off of the higher time frame. And this lined up perfectly with the idea on the dollar with this 4 hour SIBI. So that's nice. I'm still expecting dollar to go lower, EU to push higher, at least until this SIBI right here, and then we'll see what happens. But I also mentioned, you see how easy this is, because if you went on a 5-minute time frame for a New York session, you have to predict a lot of candles. The only thing we need to do on the 4 hour is wait for this fair value gap, see a rejection, and then get involved. We only have to predict 1, 2, maybe 3 candles. That's it. And on the 5-minute, we only have to look for our entry pattern. That's it. It's that easy. So again, a Judas swing, etc., is also irrelevant to us because we have this context on the higher time frame already. So a Judas swing on the 5-minute is completely irrelevant to me, especially. It might not be to you, but for me it's irrelevant, and that's how I like it. I like to keep it as simple as possible. This way I can fully focus on my psychology. Now for my psychology, actually, my psychology was all right. I was getting a little bit tired later on in the day, and that led me to overthink some things. Not necessarily in trading, but I noticed some doubts creeping up, etc. So when I do notice this, and this is normal, every human has this, some kind of doubts, etc. When you're tired or anything, this will happen. So if you do notice this, and what I did is I grab a pen and paper, I just journal it, and I notice it, and that's very important that I do notice it, and then journal, pen and paper, get a good night's sleep, and then tomorrow we go again. So yeah, that's basically it. And then for GU, the same thing. Now I mentioned as well, if I wanted to buy GU or EU, because we also called EGU, same exact thing. If I wanted to buy one of the two, either EU or GU, I would want to buy EU right now. First thing we looked at in London as well, it's stronger because if you compare the low right here, 10th of April, the 9 a.m. candle, 10th of April, 9 a.m. See how low this came, and see right here. Then for EU as well, as you probably saw on the 5-minute, it's pushing higher way more easily than GU. GU was just consolidating, etc. Now GU, we could maybe see something like this on GU tomorrow, where it's coming lower, sweeping that low, and then continue higher. But again, we did also come into a daily fair value gap on GU, so it's a little bit stuck between two PD arrays. So be mindful of that when you are trading GU. USD CAD, we had a very clean entry. It unfortunately didn't play out, but that's completely fine. We came into the daily fair value gap right here, and we had this weekly. Did we have a weekly? No, we didn't have a weekly target. Oh, we could have had this weekly target, but we didn't have a weekly target. Sorry, that's GBP cut. We came into this daily fair value gap, and it was a pretty quick analysis, and we just saw this. All right, we are respecting it, so this candle could possibly aim for the previous day low and even lower maybe. Then on the 4 hour it's the same, but because it's a daily, I like the daily the most right here. So I wanted to go into a 15-minute and look for an entry. And we got that exact entry right here. Now the reason I didn't enter lower, you'll hear me explain in London. And I'll just say it again right here. This doesn't overlap with a mitigation block or an order block or anything. So because this fair value gap overlaps with something, I like this more. And you can see, especially we are failing to displace right here, indicating it might want to sting higher a little bit and then continue lower. Now, I said if we displace lower in London, that would be ideal. And then we could see a retracement in New York and continuation lower. If it doesn't have a fair value gap, then New York might take out what London created and then continue lower. Now, as you can see, we had some consolidations, etc. We got taken out and we accept the loss. So that's one loss for the day. That's perfectly fine. So yeah, this was eventually it was a loss, and it was a pretty clean entry. 10 out of 10 times I would have taken it for sure. A very clean entry in my opinion. All right, AU, we were looking at this right here, but we didn't get tagged in. Then we reached the target. This would not be a re-entry for me because we already reached our target right here. So this would not be an entry for me. Only if it stinked right here, stinked into here, and then to the target. USD JPY, same thing. We were expecting lower prices right here in London because we came into this 4 hour fair value gap. We had this wick and we were failing to displace higher. Well, we did displace higher here, but we already reached our draw on liquidity. Now I don't want to take a trade right here. And I expected the lows to get taken out. If you want the full thought process behind it, because I can't fully recall it right now, but if you want the full thought process behind it, then check out the London session for sure. This was London and we had the displacement, but we were expecting lower prices until the 4 hour and daily order block right here. And then here we get a reaction. I don't like this reaction where it's just one big reaction, not a retracement or anything. And then right now it's retracing very deep into this and it's almost not displacing. I don't like it at all. GBP cut as well. It's a shame that this is consolidating right now because this was very clean in my opinion. Because what made it clean was the higher time frame. We did, and that's you can check the London session, but we did have a volume imbalance. I'm pretty sure. I would have to check, but I'm pretty sure there was a volume imbalance on the daily right here, ahead of or coming into the day, or I might have just completely had a brain fart, but I'm pretty sure there was a volume imbalance right there. So I'm not sure what happened with the broker, but yeah, it is what it is. So we were targeting this weekly fair value gap right here. You can see it's now leaving equal lows. So if we are coming lower, I would love to see it come lower here from this daily fair value gap, as well as this 4-hour fair value gap and this overlapping daily breaker right here. So there's a lot of confluences to go lower. Now, as soon as this was the daily volume imbalance right here, and as soon as we closed above it right here, we were expecting higher prices off of here, and we got that exactly. So that's nice to see. We didn't get involved or anything. We want to have an ST, a bearish ST, which we got the first part, but obviously we don't have a displacement to the downside. So tomorrow it would be nice if we do get something like this. Of course, we'll have to see. Bitcoin was another win. We came into this daily fair value gap right here, 15-minute entry. ST gets respected. We have a new displacement away. Order flow is bullish. Discount rates are holding. Then we have this fair value gap and covering the breaker. And this was also in London. Yeah, we entered this one in London as well. Targets pretty nicely and fast hit. We could even aim higher and potentially even go for the monthly volume or no monthly SIBI right here, which I am aiming for. All right, and Ethereum, this is also why relative strength is important if you are trading two of the same pairs, or if you're trading Forex and you're trading GU and EU, or you're trading ES and Nasdaq, then relative strength is pretty important, because if you can see, we're having the exact same scenario on Ethereum, but it's not displacing higher. So would this have been a win on Ethereum? Who knows? It might have been a break even, because this would have been the same exact entry, the same exact breaker is right here, and the same exact target is right here. Actually, this is our target right here. So as you can see, it just messes up the whole RR, and this is why it's important to take the right strength leader. All right. So I wanted to tell something, but I forgot it. I wanted to say something. What was it? I'm not sure. All right. Oh yeah, I wanted to tell you, if you're trading Forex, then it's easier to switch between Forex pairs. So for example, you can most likely you can switch between USD CAD, GU, EU, because it's Forex and they all move very similar. But the only thing is, don't start switching between Forex and futures and crypto, because then you'll most likely mess up your characteristics and your intuition, etc. Then it's better to either master crypto first, master Forex first, or master indices first, and then go on to trade potentially another. But you don't need to have a lot of pairs to trade for you to make money. Having a next relative strength leader, so having another pair next to it could help. But again, don't go over the top. I explained this in the London session as well. And of course, if you're only trading crypto on the weekend, then that's perfectly fine. It's just throughout the week, just look at one asset class. That's the most important. All right, so what am I doing right now after this day? I do the same exact thing as yesterday. I review it, I journal it, I take some screenshots of DAX as well. Right here, we are displacing higher. That's nice to see. Off of this 5 minutes, we talked about could displace higher here the rest of the day and take out this current day high. So that's nice to see. Again, we talked about this as well. So the same thing I would do is just do something like this, mark out this on end of day markups layout, mark out this. Potential 5-minute entry. And that's it. And then I journal on pen and paper the rest of my day. So I just write out my thoughts, etc. I write out how I'm feeling and what I'm expecting for tomorrow. For tomorrow, again, it is a long time until London session, so I'll do another analysis in London, and then we'll see where we are at. And it would be great if DAX also gives a nice entry. Would be nice in London. This session, PM session, I don't trade for DAX. All right, so if you do have questions, then let me know in the Discord and I'll see you around. Thank you.